The War of the Realms is upon us, and Superman fights for his life in the sixth dimension. What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is Preview Picks, the show where I'm going to go over the comic books coming out on Wednesday, and to start things off, I really want to talk about the independent titles first. So one of the first books that I want to chat about is going to be Red Sonja number 3, written by Mark Russell, and overall this is a really good and interesting take on the character, as she just recently returned to her homeland, and was oddly voted the queen just in time for a war and invasion. So Mark Russell's having a really good time with this story, and I'm really enjoying it, so if you're interested at all in Red Sonja, this is a good one to pick up. Also, over at Dark Horse, we want to talk about Black Hammer 45 number 2 from Jeff Lemire, which is continuing to kind of expand on his entire Black Hammer universe. So this mythology, this universe that he's been creating, is actually going to have a crossover with Justice League, and there's possible talk of expansion that goes out into other media, but this is just going to be a little bit more backstory to add more flavor to the universe that I already really enjoy. So if you really like Black Hammer, and you like the Black Hammer books that are surrounding it, this is a book that you're going to have to pick up. To finish things off for Independence, we'll talk about an Image title, and that is Die number 5. So overall, Die, which has got art by Stephanie Hans, and it's written by Kieran Gillen, this is just a really good take on a really odd version of Dungeons & Dragons. So these characters that got dragged into an alternate universe that was kind of a game world at a younger time in their life have recently been transported back there, and now they're resuming their roles, and what that really means is they're adults that have processed the trauma, and this is just a really great story, and one that I'm always behind. So I'm probably going to have to go into more depth with this one, and I think that everybody should be checking it out. Then over at DC, we get Deathstroke number 42, written by Christopher Priest, and this is continuing the Terminus agenda, another crossover with the Teen Titans. So Deathstroke, being infamous for his crossovers with these characters, is going to continue, and possibly he's the only hope for Damian as well as the rest of the Teen Titans team. I don't necessarily know what's going on, it hasn't been really on my radar, but for people that are fans of Deathstroke, Christopher Priest's work has been a masterstroke, and if you're a fan of Teen Titans, you always enjoy seeing them interact with the One-Eyed Assassin. So I would say that if you're a fan, definitely pick it up. Then at Marvel, we have Captain America number 9, which is actually impacting other books inside the Marvel Universe. The death of Thunderbolt Ross has been felt inside the Immortal Hulk, and this is going to continue to be a theme of the storyline while Captain America is currently on the run. If you're enjoying Ta-Nehisi Coates' run on Black Panther as well as his run on Captain America, I don't know why you would miss this one, but for people that aren't necessarily following along with the series, it's probably not a great spot to jump on. However, over at Prisoner X, which is another part of the Age of X-Man storyline, which is basically a mutant theme park that's really going on in this utopian society, it's still early enough where you can get a lot out of the characters because there's still going to be 3 more issues, and you could probably find issue number 1 on comic shelves if you want to deal with it. But this is particularly about Bishop as well as a number of the other mutants that have kind of rebelled against this utopian society in one way or another, so you should follow along with these characters if you're in the mood for something a bit more less mainstream. Also at Marvel, we get Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider number 7, which is continuing the storyline of Gwen Stacy, her Earth-65 character, and how she's dealing with the symbiote, who's now her suit, and with her powers being kind of revealed to the world. Everybody knows that she's Spider-Woman, which throws a whole different angle on the act of being this kind of masked vigilante. So I'm not sure how this is going to continue on, but overall the Spider-Gwen series has been very popular, so check it out if you're kind of interested. Then back at DC, we're going to be dealing with the Wonder Comics imprint, and Young Justice hits issue number 4. They're still trapped on Gemworld, they're inside some sort of prison, and they're going to have to use Amethyst's knowledge of the entire situation to bust everybody out, but the real story is that Brian Michael Bendis says that even after they're done on Gemworld, it's not sure whether Young Justice is going to continue to make their way home, or they're going to be stuck out in space somewhere. So Young Justice is kind of a vehicle for Brian Michael Bendis' younger characters and a couple of his new creations, so he's probably going to stick around and maybe try to develop them a little bit more in the way that he did Miles Morales, or Riri Williams, or Naomi, or really any of his young characters. But let's go a little bit more old school, and we get Conan the Barbarian number 5, written by Jason Aaron, with art by Mahmoud Asrar. And overall, because Marvel retained the rights, or just regained the rights to the Barbarian, we've seen him pop up everywhere. We had Age of Conan's Bellet, so that way we had the Pirate Queen. We've got Conan the Barbarian, the main title, Savage Sword of Conan, being written by Jerry Dugan. And then, of course, he's made an appearance inside Avengers No Road Home, and had one of the best issues of that entire maxi series. So, Conan the Barbarian, if you're into this character, you're definitely definitely going to want to pick this up. We also get issue number 2 of Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys Marvel History, and this one's dealing with Spider-Man and Venom. In a preview, we actually see that it's almost kind of like this Top Gun kind of moment, which is a really interesting thing, but remember, this is a comedy story where Frank is trying to make the entirety of his stories fit into Marvel history. So issue number 1, where Frank was part of the Fantastic Four, was a really funny romp, and it definitely means that I'm going to be picking up Cosmic Ghost Rider number 2 when it comes to this storyline, just because I'm a fan of Spider-Man, and I'm always in it for the laughs. Speaking of laughs, we have to check out this Deadpool number 11 variant cover for War of the Realms. I mean, him riding this thing with the hammers in hands and the whole kind of like Thor helmet, it's just so ridiculous. You can't help but look at it and feel a sense of wonder and joy. I'm not necessarily going to pick up the comic book just to read it, but man, to just look at that thing and own it, I might have to do it. When we bounce back over to DC, we get Adventures of the Super Sons number 9, which is continuing the storyline from Peter J. Tomasi, and overall, Super Sons was a real fan favorite, and Adventures of the Super Sons is continuing down that same road. I know there's a lot of readers out there that really love this version of Jonathan Kent, and it's really the only place you're going to find him due to the happenings that are going on in Superman. So, if you're a fan of younger Jonathan Kent, this is your place to find him, other than maybe a tease from Jorge Jimenez in Justice League. Making our way back over to Marvel, there is a really cool miniseries that's being written by Gail Simone, and that is Domino Hot Shots, and issue number 2 is coming out, and it's still continuing the creative team that was on the Domino series, which I was a really big fan of. I just liked the way that Gail Simone was writing those characters, and now we're just adding in more female assassins that are going to be taking on this various task, including Natasha Romanoff's Black Widow. So if you're a fan of the Domino miniseries, if you like the way that Gail Simone writes the character, this is going to be your place to do it, and I really like the art style from David Baldion. I'm totally going to butcher his name, but he's a pretty cool dude, and I like the way that he draws these characters, so it's got props from me. Then there's another book that I'm enjoying, and from Jim Zub we get Champions number 4, which is continuing this kind of one more day scenario with Miles Morales. After making a deal with Mephisto to resurrect his dead teammates, and then taking on the responsibility of losing another life that he'd actually interacted with previously, now we get to figure out exactly what's going to happen. And I believe in the last issue, Kamala Khan figured out where Miles was going and asked him to recount what happened. I wonder what the consequences are going to be with this kind of pseudo-relationship between Kamala Khan and Miles Morales. Are things going to be hunky-dory, or is she going to feel the guilt that Miles already feels? That's the interesting part of this story and why you should be watching out for it. Now we can bounce back over to DC, where instead of Champions, we get some Cosmic Chaos in Green Lantern number 6 from Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp. And overall, the illustrations in this book have been absolutely fantastic. Liam Sharp really accentuates the kind of crazy cosmic style that Grant Morrison wants in this storyline, and it's one that I haven't been following along super closely with, but it's one that I'm probably going to dig into deep when we're coming to the first trade, so that way I get a bit better feel. Grant Morrison always feels better when it's in compressed sections, probably a 5 or 6 issue volume, so that way you get a better idea of what kind of story he really wants to put forward, and that's what I'm feeling from Green Lantern. But if I'm wrong, hit me up in the comments down below and let me know that it's something that I need to check out right now. Also continuing some craziness is going to be Uncanny X-Men number 15, written by Matthew Rosenberg, and this is continuing the storyline of Wolverine, Cyclops, and their whole journey to kind of collect as many mutants as they can to recreate the X-Men and take up where the characters that are currently stuck in Age of X-Men left off. So far they've got, his brother, and they've got a number of other different people that are going to be kind of moving this forward. Based on the cover, it looks like Cyclops is going to be the target of somebody, and I'm not necessarily sure who. If you're a fan of the X-Men, and you can't wait for Jonathan Hickman to come in July, this is going to be the best spot to find him, at least for the short term. The question is, how is this going to play now that Jonathan Hickman is going to be writing the quintessential books for the X-Men in Power of X and House of X? This is going to be a conflict of interest that I hope can be complementary instead of, well, chaotic. So, your mileage might vary on Uncanny X-Men, but it's still the best place to find an X-Men storyline this side of, well, the median of the year. Next, we're going to continue the Hunted storyline with a special one-shot, which is dealing with the Gibbon. Amazing Spider-Man 18.HU is going to be continuing a Nick Spencer kind of offshoot. We saw Spider-Man save the Gibbon, which is actually kind of like a one-note villain inside Spider-Man's history, where he only attacked him really once. And this is going to be how this kind of naive, or not necessarily super intelligent villain is going to get caught up inside the Hunted storyline, and they promise that this one's going to be a tearjerker. If you're a completionist like myself, obviously you're going to have to pick it up. if you want to find out more about the Gibbon, which I'm not necessarily sure you're going to be in that camp, but it's a good spot to get your Spider-Man fix for the week, which is something that I always recommend as a Spider-Man fan. However, if you're looking for something really amazing, we need to talk about Avengers No Road Home number 8, which is continuing the stellar storyline that dealt with Spectrum last issue, Conan the issue before, and a whole host of Avengers that are still taking on Nyx, the goddess of darkness. So Misery is going to be in the conflict that is dealing with Scarlet Witch and Spectrum and a number of other different Avengers. We've got Rocket Raccoon, Hawkeye, and the Immortal Hulk that have currently headed out to this paradise dimension, and Nyx has headed there herself. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be going down over the last 3 issues. It's one that you can't miss, and overall as a weekly format book, it's really tough to kind of make these things work, but the rampant non-stop pace that has been going through Avengers No Road Home makes it a really excellent experience, and Paco Medina and Sean Isaacs have done a fantastic job on the art. I just can't recommend it enough, and I think it's one you guys are really happy to be following along with. Another book you should be following along with, though, is Immortal Hulk, and issue number 16 brings us the resurrection of Rick Jones, who lost his life inside Secret Empire. This cover from Alex Ross just seems to insinuate that, and we already saw his empty grave inside issue number 15. The real big news about Immortal Hulk, though, is this 1 in 25 variant cover that shows the kind of merging or the transformation of Bruce Banner into the Immortal Hulk, and that's already gone on to a second printing, and it's selling for hundreds of dollars on eBay, even before its hit stands. While I'm not necessarily a fan of speculation when it comes to comic books, I think that you should be investing in this title not because of the monetary value, but because of the actual story, because it is stellar. Overall, Immortal Hulk is one of the best series that's coming out of Marvel right now, so there's no reason that you shouldn't be picking it up. However, the last ongoing comic we want to talk about is from DC, and that's Justice League number 21, which is going to continue the adventures of the Justice League inside the 6th dimension. Last issue, we were introduced to the Justice League of Tomorrow. We saw the future Superman go up against the actual Superman, who's in this dark dimension that seems to be created specifically for him and for him to lose his powers, decay over time, and ended up a corpse. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but the son of Hawkgirl and Martian Manhunter has blasted some sort of psychic image into their head, which is going to make them a lot more suspicious of what's going on, and Batman is already questioning perfection. Justice League from Scott Snyder with art by Jorge Jimenez is easily one of the must-read books from DC just due to its cosmic chaos that it brings to the DC universe, and the storyline's pretty damn good too, so highly on my recommended list. The ones that we want to talk about for brand new number 1s, though, Marvel Team Up number 1, which is going to be from Eve Ewing, and that matches up Spider-Man with Kamala Khan's Miss Marvel in kind of a superhero tag team story. I'm not necessarily sure what the future of this one holds. I've seen these solicitations out for the next 2 months, and overall it continues to have Spider-Man and Miss Marvel, but the question is Spider-Man going to be the main person inside this title, or is it going to be Miss Marvel? Is it going to be Marvel Team Up featuring Miss Marvel where she teams up with other characters? I can see how that would be, well, a possibility, but the history of Marvel Team Up really leads towards Spider-Man. However, he's got far too many stories that are coming out as it is, especially with the introduction of Symbiote Spider-Man and a whole bunch of other stuff that's going down the road. However, a main character that I really want to talk about is Major X, which gets his debut, and that is from Rob Liefeld, both doing the art as well as the writing. And this looks kind of like a mashup of some sort of Cyclops from the future, as well as like Deadpool and a number of other characters that Rob Liefeld's drawn in the past. And the real question is, what is he really going to do inside the main Marvel universe? It seems like he's from some sort of, I don't know, utopian dimension, like some sort of Marvel existence where mutants are perfectly in harmony with the rest of the world, something along those lines. And I'm curious what he's going to be doing inside the main Marvel universe when he finds something completely chaotic in comparison. And then to finish things off, we've got a last number 1, which is going to be the epic War of the Realms. So the main miniseries portion, which is going to get 6 issues and is really the culmination of, well, at this point in time, 6 years of work from Jason Aaron is going to be finally told. And the major crossover points are going to be War of the Realms, Thor, and the Avengers, because, well, those are the books that Jason Aaron's got control over. The one thing that I want to look at is variant covers, and variant covers, especially for an event like this, are really questionable as far as their purchases, but the Battle Lines variant cover, I really like Olivier Coipel's variant cover, and then call me a sucker for Spider-Man because I really like Ryan Ottley's as well. But the War of the Realms, which I'm going to do a video on so that way you guys have all the information you need to get started, is, well, it's going to be a short-lived but epic portion. 2 issues per month, so in the month of April, May, and June, we are going to get the entirety of the story, as well as somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 issues of crossover. So I would suggest just going for the main title, as well as Thor and the Avengers, and then leaving everything else till later, maybe. But I want to know what you guys think, so hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books and more.